the 2022 World Cup Final. This Sunday, the 18th of December, the world will stand still. The greatest sporting event on the planet will return, as it does every 4 years, to captivate the masses, send emotions into overdrive, and turn one group of men into immortals for eternity. This time it's different. The World Cup Final comes live from the Qatar desert in the middle of the winter. The 88,000 capacity Lusail Stadium will light up again to give us the final chapter in this fantastic story. The 2022 World Cup has brought us iconic moments, unbelievable surprises, and everlasting memories. But it all comes down to this, the final act where the victors will be crowned. More than 3.5 billion people were estimated to have watched the last edition of the final in 2018. Yet, this number will be surpassed on Sunday as Lionel Messi's Argentina take on Kylian Mbappe's France. The two Paris Saint-Germain teammates have been the tournament's best players by quite a distance. They are also joint top goal scorers with 5 each. Both number 10s have been the difference makers in their nation's journey to the final. But who can take the final step towards the famous trophy on Sunday? Only 8 nations have lifted the World Cup since it began almost 100 years ago in 1930. France and Argentina are both on that list, with 2 titles each. France won the tournament in Russia in 2018, so they have a side full of players who know exactly what it means to win this tournament. Mbappe could win his second World Cup medal at just 23 years of age. Their other victory came as hosts in 1998 when they dispatched Brazil 3-0 in a famous final that included a brace for Zinedine Zidane. We have to travel a little further back in time to remember the glory years of Argentina. They last won the trophy in 1986, led by Diego Maradona. The tournament in Mexico, of course, is still best known for the famous quarter-final against England. In that game, El Diego scored the famous Hand of God goal, followed by one of the best solo efforts in World Cup history. 8 years earlier, Argentina also won the trophy as hosts. Mario Kempes was their talisman in 1978, another tournament with great football that was marred by controversy and off-field events. So both teams have their own history with the World Cup and are seeking a third star on their jersey. Both teams will believe it is their year, and they will have spotted some weaknesses in their opposition. Despite incredible runs from Croatia and Morocco, we now have 2 of football's most historical nations ready to battle it out on Sunday. Argentina entered this tournament with a 35-game unbeaten streak and a Copa America title in Brazil. That, and the fact that they have Lionel Messi, means that the Albiceleste fans arrived in Qatar this year relatively confident. It is also worth mentioning that this squad has a very visible bond and a sense of togetherness that other teams don't seem to match. France arrived in Qatar branded as strong tournament favourites, alongside Brazil and certainly a bit ahead of Argentina. Didier Deschamps, who led them to the title in 2018, remains in the dugout, as do some core members from that famous victory, like captain Hugo Lloris and Antoine Griezmann. The French will know that retaining a World Cup title is very rare, but they have so much quality and depth in their team. They want to spoil this Argentina party. The South Americans started off their World Cup campaign with a shock defeat to Saudi Arabia. Despite a routine first half display where they went 1-0 up, it was the Arab nation that would take the 3 points. A brilliant second half performance from the Saudis stunned Argentina and had everyone questioning their tag as title contenders. This left Argentina needing a victory against Mexico in their second game. The pressure was on, and who stepped up to the plate? Lionel Messi. A trademark finish from the number 10 meant that Argentina could breathe a sigh of relief. But they would have to improve their performance in the final group game against Poland. They needed a win again to secure their pass to the round of 16. Alexis McAllister and Julian Alvarez had all the answers for Argentina in this one. A victory against Poland also meant that they would avoid France in the last 16. How different this World Cup might have been if our 2 finalists had met 3 rounds earlier. Despite a shaky start and a lack of flow to their play, Argentina got the job done and were in the round of 16. Australia were Argentina's surprise opponents in the first knockout round. They had seen off Denmark and Tunisia in their group in historic fashion, but a moment of Messi magic opened the game up. It could have been a greater margin of victory on the day, but Argentina ran out 2-1 winners in the end. a relatively unscathed and growing in confidence Argentina were in the quarterfinals. An impressive Dutch team led by stars like Virgil van Dijk and Memphis Depay lay in wait. This game had the feel of a grudge match, thanks to some fruity comments in the press leading up to the game. Van Gaal's comments on Messi's lack of influence over their meeting in 2014, and the Dutch goalkeeper saying Messi is human and that he planned on saving his penalties, meant that Lionel was rather motivated for this one. In not so recent history, Argentina and the Netherlands had faced off in some huge World Cup ties, notably the 2014 semi-final, the 1978 final when Argentina took the spoils, and the 1998 quarter-final when a famous Dennis Bergkamp goal saw Holland advance to the semi-finals. On the day, Argentina had their most positive start to a game at this tournament so far. Molina converted a magic assist from Messi in the first half, and a penalty from the Magician made it 2-0 deep into the second. Holland had not caused Argentina any problems during the game, and a routine victory was on the way. Fast forward 30 minutes however, and you would have missed 2 Dutch goals and a whole host of controversy. Wout Weghorst entered the fray as Holland went direct. The big striker managed to grab 2 goals from set pieces to take the game into extra time. A crippling blow for Argentina in a heated match. They had thrown away a victory and now had to work double for it. In the end, only a shootout would separate the sides, and Dibu Martinez, as he had done against Colombia in the Copa America, was the star of the show. In saving the first 2 Dutch attempts, he sent the Albiceleste on their way, and Lautaro Martinez dispatched the last kick of the shootout to confirm their place in the semi-final. Croatia, who had defeated Argentina 3-0 in the group stage of the last World Cup, were their final 4 opponents. A side led by the evergreen Luka Modric pulled off a historic penalty shootout win against Brazil in the quarterfinals. But in the semi-finals, Croatia's run would come to an end, and this time Argentina were the 3-0 winners. This reverse in result is a sign of how far Argentina have come since their dull performance at the last tournament. Perhaps with a bit of luck, Messi opened the scoring from the penalty spot, with Julian Alvarez adding the second in the blink of an eye. Croatia failed to scare Argentina themselves, and in the second half of the game, an unbelievable piece of play from Lionel Messi set up Alvarez for his second and Argentina's third. Messi picked the ball up on the right hand side and drove towards goal, with the highly rated young centre-back Joško Gvardiol hot on his heels. Despite not having the pace of a decade ago, Messi is as intelligent as ever. He paused, twisted and turned to shake off the towering defender, leaving him in the dust. Despite arriving in Qatar as holders, not everything was perfect for the French. A long injury list meant that some of their top players would not be available for selection, including Kanté, Pogba and this year's Ballon d'Or winner Karim Benzema. Luckily for France however, they could probably bring 2 squads to the World Cup and they would both compete. Spearheaded by the mercurial Mbappe and more than adequate injury replacements, the French arrived at the Gulf Coast with only victory in mind. They started the tournament off in fine fashion, brushing aside Australia with ease. A 4-1 victory put them in pole position in Group D. In their second group game, they took on Denmark, a side that had given them a lot of trouble recently, beating them twice in the past 6 months. France would surely be up against it, you would think, but on the day they didn't have it quite as difficult as recent times. Despite a late Danish equaliser, Le Bleu were able to snatch a winner, and in truth, Denmark flattered to deceive. This whole World Cup, they were a bit of a disappointment. They crashed out in the group stages and France had 6 points after 2 games. Therefore, a host of changes were made by the French for the last group game against Tunisia. They lost 1-0, but it didn't really matter. They had won the group and had bigger things to come. A well-rested French team arrived in the round of 16, still in second gear. They faced a Poland side that had also been a disappointment so far. Despite scraping out of a very competitive group, like Denmark, Poland had not shown us some of the brilliance that we associate with them. France ran out 3-1 victors with relative ease, and Mbappe stole the show with 2 stunning finishes. France faced 2 big tasks in the quarterfinals and semi-finals though, and it's fair to say they rode their luck in parts of both games. A last-8 win over England was thanks to a late penalty miss from Harry Kane. With the ball on the spot, the game seemed destined for extra time, as England had the better share of the football. This time, France got lucky. Against Morocco in the semi-finals, France looked very dangerous going forward, but also quite open at the back. Mbappe's pace on the break is frightening, but on another day, Morocco may have had a real chance of getting something out of this one. The bounce of the ball simply didn't break for them, and France sailed a 2-0 win to return to a second World Cup in as many tournaments. Argentina and France are worthy finalists, and two beautiful narratives surround both of their talisman. Lionel Messi may well be the best footballer of all time, regardless, but he would love to cement his place in history with a historic win this Sunday. The only trophy he hasn't got in the cabinet is the biggest of them all. On the other hand, Kylian Mbappe could have his second title before he even reaches the peak of his career. Fans of the football world may be hoping that the stars will align for Messi. Finally, he can fulfill the dream to lift the World Cup. But Deschamps' France have been there and they have done it, and they are ready to spoil the party. The game will hopefully live up to the expectations and be one for the ages. As is usually the case, it will be decided with tiny details. A missed chance, a penalty, a moment of magic perhaps, who knows. Sit back and enjoy the show. This fitting matchup will end a month of fabulous football in Qatar. So who will be crowned? Mbappe the menace or Messi the magician? Or an unsuspected hero? Maybe someone from the bench will provide the golden touch. Penalties? We don't know if our heart could take it. What about you? Let us know in the comments what's going to happen this Sunday in the FIFA World Cup Final 2022.